You have found my second book too? Well, I guess you have to be pretty intrigued at this point. Well, since I have already given you a piece of this very valuable history of our world, why not tell you the rest of it? So, as you now know, the gods were in charge of the humans, acting as watchers over humanity. Guardians, some could say. The humans worshipped their gods. They were, after all, the first beings to settle this world and helped bring life onto it, such as water, animals, fire, all things that humans need in order to survive. Since the gods helped maintain the human race, the humans created sacred homes for them as time went by. Gods lived whenever and wherever, so the homes were pretty much useless to the gods. That's why bishops were assigned to watch over each of the gods' houses as time went by. These homes were called churches. Some of the churches were even visited by the gods now and then, and these were promoted to cathedrals. These churches were spread all around Kedar, and all parts of the continent created churches and cathedrals for their most beloved gods. The people of the Midlands, what's now called Chaldean, Red Valley, and all things in between, founded the churches dedicated to Aias, the god of intellect, Nimel, the goddess of culture, and Riona, the goddess of scripts and writings. They can be found at almost every town and city spread across the Midlands. Most of them are inhabited by several monks, but some are just maintained by a single priest, depending on the size of the church or the city it is located in. The Midlands usually focus on great teachings, intellect, large, prosperous cultures, and fascination for art, all of which represents their chosen gods. The southern desert lands of Thilliaras made churches, or should I say, temples, dedicated to Thilliaras, the goddess of fertility, and Merian, the goddess of the sea. Their dedication towards fertility led to polygamy becoming a central factor within their beliefs. They also focus on producing many heirs so that inheritance of titles, jobs, lands, and crowns never becomes an issue. The economy and trade of Thilliaras relies heavily on the sea, its salty water, and all its creatures. The ancient traditional tale of Sultan al-Zarak and how he defeated a great sea monster back in the First Age contributes to their love towards the sea and belief system as well, and why they chose to worship both Thilliaras and Merian. The steppes of Agadori in the west founded the temples of Biorat, the god of nature, and Uran, the god of systems and economy. The nomadic people inhabiting Agadori are of the traditional sort, much like Thilliaras. They earn most of its income on trade and caravans, and that is also the main motivation behind their love towards Uran. By trading with almost every part of the world, Agadorian merchants usually document their travels as well. This leads to many great tales of the snow-covered northern lands and the unique cultures found in the eastern islands. This lust for exploration and traveling is the sole purpose of why they worship Biorat. They want to see the world and its glorious landscapes, which is understandable considering how vast and desolate their homeland is. The northern lands of Urveld is home to the barbaric and secluded northern people. They do not care much for the outside world and have since the birth of humans always waged wars between themselves. The lands of Urveld is all independent. It's covered with several lesser kingdoms that remain hostile towards one another at all times. They usually marry each other's families to produce alliances to aid them in future conflicts. But even this results in wars, disputes, or mass murders. If I were you, I would remain outside their borders. They are unreasonable, to say the least. They built wooden stave churches to worship Ghareds, god of battle and strategy, and Feohim, the god of livestock and hunting. This is most likely a result of their addiction towards war and battle. Their lands are usually covered by snow or thick woods, so hunting has always been a priority for Urvelds. This focus on hunting and animals also created many legends and tales about the unknown mythical beings in the deep forest of the northern lands. If these are true, no one can confirm, but I would rather stay here in Milne, the swamp-covered rocky shores, than be inside those dark, grim forests. The eastern shogunate of Shinkensu founded the temples of Kimos, the goddess of harmony, and the twins Eureka and Ryaga, the goddesses of brotherhood. The Shinkensuan people is a very calm, harmonic, and honest one. They usually pray and work, and repeat this very rhythm to the end of their lives. They have no malicious greed and remain respectful towards everyone at all times, even their enemies. So is the nature of the goddesses of brotherhood that they aspire to imitate. However, if someone were to steal from them, betray them, or threat them in any sort of way, they will fight despite their respective attitude. They are widely known for building the forgiving Temple of Eureka, located in the capital city of Yamahatsu. It's said that if someone who bears hatred towards another over an unsolved dispute travel to this very temple, they will become friends and allies to the end of dawn. If this is true, I can neither deny nor confirm. The kingdom of Xi'an is located on the island north for Shinkensu. The Siamese people is similar to Shinkensuans in many ways. They even founded temples for these same gods. Even though the kingdom of Xi'an is slightly more secluded than their neighbor, they are still widely known for their colorful fashion and unique cuisine, much like Shinkensu themselves. The last part of Kedar yet to be mentioned are the Isles of Sorrow. The people there are very similar to Chaldean in looks, but considerably fewer in population and scattered around the different islands in the area. They are known to be very shy and not at all interested in any sort of connection to outlanders. They worship the same gods as the Midlands, but are well known for building churches dedicated towards Euthelus, the dead god, something which is almost seen as a sin toward the rest of the world. The few people who have seen the churches, including me, can confirm that the churches of Euthelus does in fact exist within the Isles of Sorrow. However, there was also built one cathedral of Euthelus, which Euthelus himself once visited. The tale tells that Euthelus, depressed as he was, entered the halls as he wept, and then left, sorrow-filled and miserable. I was lucky to somehow pay this cathedral a visit in my youth. It felt strange, almost criminal to be there, knowing that the traitor himself, who made love to the callous beast Yamar, once had walked the same hallways as I did. I personally mean that all sacred buildings shall never be damaged, but there won't be long until someone burns the Cathedral of Euthelus to the ground. I'm sure of it. The last god yet to be mentioned is Venus, the god of magic. Instead of churches dedicated to him, the whole continent of Kedar founded schools of Venus instead. His teachings of magic and spells was admired by many, and by that reason, schools dedicated to him were built in order to teach his magic to future generations. The art of magic is something not everyone can obtain immediately. Some are born with this gift, while others use many years to attempt to manifest it. Controlling magic, however, that is the real challenge. Even though my knowledge in magic is limited, I can still give you a short summary of what I know. Magic comes from within ourselves. Our own bodies is what manifests fire, lightning, water, air, and so on. We use magic by draining the life energy of objects around us, like plants, trees, and animals. Draining another human's life energy is said to be nearly impossible, and also strictly forbidden. If there are no objects containing life energy within your reach, or if the object is already fully drained or dead, you will consume your own life energy instead. Manifesting a single decent-sized fire orb, for example, equals the loss of 1 minute of your life, while a large fire orb can shave off an entire hour. Even though this is in minuscule portions, the effect of your life energy drainage will eventually become severe if heavy usage of magic is used often. This is also why female magicians are usually advised not to have children, as the life energy will be drawn from the fetus if no other life energy hosts is nearby, which will eventually result in the child being stillborn. To summarize, being a wielder of magical powers is certainly difficult, but the path of controlling magic is even harder, as it depends on consummation, patience, and restrainance over your own powers. These words were few of the many ground pillars to the teachings of magic that Venus gifted the humans with, and pupils to this day and age still try their best to follow these core principles. There is another sort of magicians called outcasts. These are the ones that inherit the power of manifesting magic from a parent and can do so at an early age. These do not have any sort of knowledge regarding the rules and boundaries of magic learned in schools, and easily shaves off entire years of their lives with using magic unrestricted. Being born an outcast can be highly valued, but also seen as a curse. With that said, I have written enough about Khedarian beliefs and systems for now. Let us move our focus towards different horizons. Even though we Khedarians have our own religion and belief system, not every part of our world fully agrees on our world's history. They do not deny that our gods existed or that history occurred like it did, but rather add their own god into their belief that we Khedarians won't recognize. If you haven't figured it out already, I'm talking about Thilliaras, the continent of elves located in the far west. Their alternate pantheon tells the tale of how Venus, the god of magic, traveled to Thilliaras in pilgrimage out of frustration for not getting his own church in Kedar. The motivation behind this pilgrimage has, naturally, brought skepticism towards historians like myself, but this is how Thilliaras tells their tale, and I shall do my best to convey it to you. While traveling to Thilliaras, he got his very own following of dedicated humans who followed him there. One of these was Thillia, a girl. This is hard for me to tell, as it is strictly forbidden to talk about gods making love to humans, but I want to make it clear that this information does not regard Kedar in any way. This is elven knowledge, not my own speculations. Venus proceeded to make love to Thillia, and that gave him a child, Valias. The ungodly act of crossbreeding between a god and a human made the child disfigured, but Thilliarians would argue that this disfigurement is what made them true humans. The child had long ears, a blue lilac tone to his skin, and wore a head shorter than regular humans. He eventually became the ancestor of Thilliarian elves, and their sole god on this desolate, faraway land. As time went by, he gave birth to the race of Valias elves, and many churches and monuments were erected in his name. Being a descendant of the god of magic, Valias naturally mastered the arts of spells and casting. This led to the people of Thilliaras being exceptionally dedicated to magic, and to this day, the continent is widely known for their unique spells and magic-infused weapons. The tale of Venus splits up in different directions after this. Many elves would say that he went back to Kedar and partook in the war against Morgic and the beasts, while others argue that he went into the mountains of Thilliaras and peacefully died there. Some even dare to state that he still lives somewhere in the mountains, which gave life to many tales, legends, and speculation about where he could be. There is an old legend from the Second Age which says the following. If you were to travel up the mountains of Harmanger in the far northern part of the country, you would hear the sound of Venus' staff hitting the ground at night because of his old age and hunched back. Regardless of how convincing this may sound, it is highly unlikely that you would ever have the chance of encountering a god, and the story is generally viewed as nonsense. I thank you for reading these scripts, but I unfortunately have to go now. There seem to be people searching for me. I saw them through the window, a silver-haired man leading a group. They are probably after this book as well. I thought Milne would keep me safe, but regardless of its tall walls and marshlands, the bounty hunters always finds a way. Farewell for now.
Thought Milne would keep me safe, but regardless of the hard walls more, but it was all farewell for now. These scripts are nothing but a bad attempt at praising dead gods. How can't they seem to understand that the dead ones may rest, and the ones still alive is those we should aspire to be? Morgek, such a beautiful creature, yet hated by the public. And what for? What proof do you have of the god's existence other than Morgek? He was here only a year ago. We witnessed him until he was banished yet again by that old, useless scroll. We pray, sing and dance to the gods so badly, but when one finally appears, we seek to destroy his being only because of historical speculations about his evil intentions. Yes, he might be the lesser god, or not what we expected, but he is a god nonetheless. The race of humans are so ungrateful, and unfortunately, I am one of them as well. May his curse bring your demise, Scroll Seekers.